Stitch wasn't the only experiment created by the scientist Jumba, and that becomes even clearer in the movie sequels and the TV series. But did you know that some of these experiments are powerful enough to destroy the Earth or even the entire universe, all by themselves? One experiment that became a huge threat was Leroy, for one very simple reason. He's basically an upgraded and way more evil version of Stitch. Leroy can do everything Stitch can do, but better. No wonder he was the main villain in the final animated movie of the franchise, Leroy and Stitch. Jumba was forced to create him after being taken hostage by Dr. Hamsterville, and the little red monster proved to be a real threat by defeating Stitch in battle. After that, he was cloned multiple times to form an entire army. If one was already that strong, imagine dozens of them at once. Of course, Stitch didn't stand a chance. That's why he had to gather all the other Jumba experiments he had captured throughout the events of Lilo and Stitch, the series, to fight back against the army. And you know what's the craziest part? Even with all that effort, the Leroys were only defeated because the other experiments made them listen to the song Aloha Oi. Yep, it was a song that took down Leroy and his clones, because they had a built-in failsafe that made them shut down whenever they heard that tune. Leroy is definitely one of the strongest experiments, but don't get it twisted. He's just one of the 17 most powerful experiments in Lilo and Stitch, and we'll be talking about all of them in this video. This won't be a countdown from weakest to strongest or anything like that, but pay close attention. The last three we're going to mention are hands down the most powerful and dangerous experiments in the entire franchise. Ready? So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. It's time for another Cinewave. Of course, a list like this had to include the craziest and most adorable alien of the saga, Stitch himself, also known as Experiment 626. He's considered Jumba's greatest creation and the perfect destruction machine, excelling in almost every area. The reason for that? Stitch has the genes of the most powerful alien species in the cosmos, as revealed in the short film The Origin of Stitch. He's invulnerable, super strong, super intelligent, he has enhanced vision, hearing and smell, X-ray and infrared vision, photographic memory, the ability to glide, and probably lots of other powers we haven't even seen yet. And let's not forget his most important ability, working like a human record player. He's basically Superman in terms of special abilities, except he looks like a cute little animal and was originally built to spread chaos across the universe. And we all know, not just any rookie can pull that off. If we also count the Stitch and I series, a Chinese spin-off released in 2017, Stitch can even transform into a gigantic version of himself, unlocking his full power and becoming capable of destroying the entire galaxy with ease. Even in his smaller form, it's hard to imagine humanity ever capturing him, even with all the weapons and bombs that the nations of our planet have at their disposal. Good thing he's on our side. Believe it or not, Leroy isn't the only evil version of Stitch. The anime Stitch, another Asian spin-off, this time from Japan, also ran with this idea, introducing another character, Experiment Zero. He was Jumba's very first creation before the scientist even started numbering his artificial beings. Jumba's goal was to develop the perfect killing machine. In other words, the same goal he had when creating Stitch. And yeah, mission accomplished. Maybe a little too accomplished, because Zero turned out to be so violent that not even Jumba himself could control him. Because of that, the scientist decided to imprison his invention on a frozen planet. But Zero eventually managed to escape and even added technological modifications to himself, turning into a cyborg. And that's exactly what he is, a crazy, evil Stitch with a body full of weapons. Messing with this guy? Not a great idea. Now let's step away from Stitch replicas for a second and talk about experiments with powers completely different from Lilo's best buddy. Most of them are introduced in Lilo and Stitch the series, where Lilo and Stitch hunt down Jumba's experiments that spread all over Hawaii. One of them is Foon, Experiment 540, who has the power to create massive air tornadoes. A power that's fully capable of causing mass destruction when you really think about it. Tornadoes take thousands of lives every year. Back in the 70s, when we didn't have as many ways to deal with them, tornadoes killed 3 million people. Now imagine Foon being able to control the path of his tornadoes. Even scarier is the fact that he evolved and learned to concentrate his tornadoes into small points, firing them like cannonball-sized projectiles, only way more powerful. Another natural disaster in the form of a cute little creature is Experiment 523, better known as Slushy. Instead of tornadoes, this guy can create cold fronts and blizzards, but his power has a massive range. He can cover entire cities in snow and freeze everyone around with barely any effort. But if you don't want to get caught in a tornado or a blizzard, how about a tsunami? Because that's exactly what Cannonball, Experiment 520, can unleash. Whenever he jumps into a water source, like a pool, he can manipulate that water to create powerful waves that move however Cannonball wants. If he jumps into somewhere with a lot of water, like an ocean, he becomes a full-on destruction machine. After all, Cannonball can create gigantic waves strong enough to wipe entire cities off the map. These experiments are pretty intense, right? If you'd love to adopt one, just like Lilo did, drop a comment below with #Lilo. So far we've talked about some upgraded versions of Stitch, but there are also the downgraded ones. Experiment 625, whose name is Ruben, definitely falls into that group. He's able to do everything our beloved Stitch can do, but he came with one pretty serious flaw. Ruben is super lazy. He just wants to chill and eat. Well, who doesn't, right? Even so, just having the same powers as Stitch already earns Experiment 625 a well-deserved spot among the most powerful. Digger, Experiment 529, is another one who could cause mass destruction if he wanted to, even though he doesn't look like it. He can dig through any ground like a mole, but in doing so, he destroys structures and causes massive collapses. Bringing down buildings is child's play for Digger, but things could get way worse. If he digs too deep, he might reach the Earth's core and trigger collapses all over the planet. That could wipe out millions of lives in one go. A very similar experiment is 513, better known as Richter. He's incredibly good at finding weak points in the ground, and when he strikes them, he causes earthquakes. It'd already be terrifying if he caused just regular earthquakes that toppled buildings, but he can trigger one powerful enough to split the planet in half. Are you a fan of plants? Well, Experiment 509, called Sprout, is a bit more dangerous than your average little Venus flytrap. He grows and multiplies constantly with the goal of taking over everything, and if no one stops him, he'll do just that, because Sprout keeps growing until he takes control of the entire planet. Experiment 505, or Plute, might seem like he has good intentions at first, but he's also super dangerous. His special ability is absorbing garbage. Plute would be the perfect tool for fighting the pollution that's ruining our world, if only he didn't keep getting bigger as he consumes more trash. It's just a matter of time before he turns into a giant, extremely dangerous monster. And as if that wasn't OP enough, this experiment can also turn the garbage he's absorbed into a toxic liquid that he can shoot out like a weapon. One experiment that pairs up with Ruben on the list of failed Stitch versions is Whoops, or Experiment 600. He does everything Stitch does, but, well, whoops. This guy is ridiculously clumsy. Come to think of it, someone this clumsy with that many powers is seriously dangerous. If you see him walking down the street, it's probably safer to cross to the other side, just in case. Speaking of playing it safe, how about hitting that subscribe button? That way you'll protect yourself from boredom because you'll always get our latest videos about your favorite cartoons. The villain from the video game Disney's Stitch, Experiment 626, also makes it into this club. His name is Chop Suey, and he's yet another Stitch copy, this time with the flaw of not using his powers all that well. However, he soon undergoes a mutation that makes him pretty threatening, because he gains the ability to grow physically stronger by absorbing the genetic material of other beings. Let's talk about two experiments at once because they work as a team. Mr. Stinchy and Mrs. Sickly were introduced in the Stitch anime released in 2008, and this duo is no joke. Mr. Stinchy can release a super stinky gas, while Mrs. Sickly emits gases that make you sick. Sounds normal so far, right? Well, when the two gases mix, they trigger a reaction powerful enough to cause an explosion that can destroy an entire planet. Suggestion? Keep these two as far away from each other as possible. Now it's time to talk about the top 3 most powerful experiments in the entire Lilo and Stitch universe. Coming in third place, we have 606, Holio. Wondering what makes him so strong? Well, nothing too crazy. He just transforms into a black hole. Yep, he can turn into a rift capable of sucking up anything. Objects, people, cities, planets, and even galaxies. The title of third most powerful is well deserved, don't you think? Experiment 611 is called El Fin, and his name is no exaggeration. He really is the end. That's because El Fin has the ability to make the universe implode, which basically means the destruction of everything that exists. But here's the funny part. He can only do this if Jumba says a secret keyword. The problem? The keyword is so secret that not even Jumba remembers what it is, because he forgot. So for now, the experiment just exists without using his power. Let's all hope Jumba never accidentally says the secret word. If that happens, that's when the real El Fin will begin. And now it's time to talk about the most powerful and dangerous experiment ever created. Honestly, he's probably the most powerful being in the entire Lilo and Stitch universe. Launch, Experiment 607 can tear through the fabric of reality and space-time until the entire universe is completely destroyed. It's a power very similar to El Fin's, but with one major difference. Launch doesn't need any secret keyword to bring about the end of everything. What's curious is that he never actually appeared in any movie or episode of the series. He was only mentioned in a crossover episode with the cartoon Kim Possible. Rufus, a character from Kim Possible, looks a lot like Launch, and Jumba thought that the naked mole rat was actually his most powerful creation. If you want to keep having fun with us, just click on one of the 2 videos on your screen. We're sure you're gonna love it. Thanks, and see you next time!